So we're back to our channel. So for today, we're going to focus on enriching our vocabulary. So in this lesson, we are introducing 10 vocabulary words that could be used in place of some common words that we use to express our thoughts. So before we start, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, press the bell, like and share. Once again, this is Teacher Bowa. Okay, now, how do we enrich our vocabulary? Okay, to enrich our vocabulary, we should learn to improve what we say in a more accurate and better way. Enriching your vocabulary is the act or process of improving the quality or the power of what we say by using more accurate and better words than we normally use. So one way of doing this is to avoid using the word very if we can use a better word to mean it. Sometimes, in order for us to overexpress what we mean when we are overwhelmed to say it, we use the word very. There are many ways on how to avoid using very. So here are some good examples. Instead of using very loud, we use deafening. Let us see the sentences. He got a deafening cheer from the crowd for his outstanding performance. So we use deafening to replace very loud. So instead of saying he got a very loud cheer from the crowd for his outstanding performance, we said deafening cheer. Another sentence, the child was frightened by a deafening noise out in the street. So instead of saying a very loud noise, we used a deafening noise. Next sentence, the deafening noise of an old car engine is irritating. So instead of saying the very loud noise of an old car engine, we said the deafening noise of an old car engine. Next, instead of using very fat, we use the word obese. So, in this sentence, obese people tend to have more health problems than lean people. So instead of saying very fat people tend to have more health problems than lean people, we would rather say obese people. Next sentence, it is difficult to do physical exercises for the obese people. So you see, instead of saying very fat people, we use obese. Another sentence, obese patients find it difficult to observe dietary advice. So instead of saying very fat patients, we used obese patients that find it difficult to observe dietary advice. Now, let's have the next word. Instead of using very hot, use scorching, sweltering, or blistering. Example, Joyce used an umbrella and wore a jacket to protect herself from the scorching sun. So instead of saying very hot sun, we say scorching sun. Another sentence, tourists travel to cold places during the scorching summer months. So instead of saying very hot summer months, we say scorching summer months. During summer, the weather is very hot. So we say during summer, the weather is scorching. Another sentence, taking a cool shower on a sweltering weather makes you feel fresh. So instead of saying taking a cool shower on a very hot weather, we use sweltering weather. Next, we walked under the heat of the blistering sun just to reach the beach. So instead of saying very hot sun, we use blistering sun. Our next word is very intelligent, that instead of using it, we use brilliant or bright. Sentence, his brilliant research made him so famous. So instead of saying his very intelligent research, we use brilliant research. Next, A brilliant mind leads one to succeed in life. So, instead of saying a very intelligent mind, we use a brilliant mind that leads one to succeed in life. Another sentence: the leader's bright ideas made the team successfully finish the project. So, instead of using the leader's very intelligent ideas, we use the leader's bright ideas that made the team successfully finish the project. Let's continue to the next word, that instead of using very poor, we use impoverished. Look at these sentences. The impoverished areas in the country should be given relief and assistance by the government. So instead of saying the very poor areas in the country, we use impoverished areas. Next sentence. The impoverished families in remote areas just rely on the relief goods being handed to them by their benefactors. So instead of saying the very poor families, we used the impoverished families in remote areas. Next sentence. The generous businessman who became wealthy and famous came from an impoverished family. So it means the generous businessman who became wealthy and famous came from a very poor family. So instead of using very poor, we use from an impoverished family. Our next word is minuscule. So instead of using very small, we use minuscule. He only has a minuscule budget to build his house. So instead of saying he only has a very small budget to build his house, we say minuscule budget. Next, the missionary paid a minuscule amount for the purchase of the land donated for the homeless. So instead of saying a very small amount, we say a minuscule amount for the purchase of the land. Next sentence. A minuscule amount of cooking oil is needed to fry an egg. So we say, instead of saying a very small amount of cooking oil, we say a minuscule amount of cooking oil. Next, instead of using very funny, we use hilarious. Sentence. Vloggers are making hilarious pranks for video viewers' entertainment. So instead of saying very funny pranks, we use hilarious pranks. Next, the comedian is a hilarious entertainer. So instead of saying very funny entertainer, the comedian is a hilarious entertainer. Next, his speech was hilarious that he caught the attention of the audience. So instead of saying very funny, we use hilarious. Our next word is very full, which means stuffed. So instead of using very full, we use stuffed. The gift box stuffed of chocolates and candies is delivered for the little girls. So instead of saying very full of chocolates and candies, we say stuffed of chocolates and candies. Next, her wardrobe stuffed of expensive clothing for her gorgeous outfits is truly amazing. So stuffed of expensive clothing. Instead of saying very full of expensive clothing, we used stuffed of expensive clothing. Another sentence, the medicine kit bag has been stuffed with all kinds of medicines for emergency use. So instead of using very full of all kinds of medicines, we use stuffed with all kinds of medicine. Now let's go to the next words, which are indignant and enraged. Instead of using very angry, we use indignant or enraged. Example, the people made an indignant nationwide protest against racial discrimination. So instead of saying the people made a very angry nationwide protest, we say indignant nationwide protest. Next sentence. They are indignant about the unjust and inhuman arrest of the innocent victim. So, they are very angry about the unjust and inhuman arrest of the innocent victim. So, instead of using very angry, we used indignant. Next sentence. The victim was enraged during the court trials when asked about the culprit's sexual abuses on her. So here, instead of using the victim was very angry during the court trials when asked about the culprit's sexual abuses on her, we used the victim was enraged during the court trials. Our next and final word to learn about is the word cramped and also jam-packed. Instead of using very crowded, we use cramped or jam-packed. Sentence. Mother cooked delicious menu for the visitors in the cramped kitchen. So instead of saying the very crowded kitchen, we say cramped kitchen. Next sentence. The government should do something about the cramped living conditions of the people in the slum areas. So instead of saying cramped or very crowded living conditions, we say the cramped living conditions. Next, the beach resort was jam-packed with tourists due to its fascinating views. So instead of saying the beach resort was very crowded with tourists, we say the beach resort was jam-packed with tourists due to its fascinating views. So there we go, guys. I hope that you learned something from today's lesson. I hope that the 10 words that were introduced to you this day will help you make your sentences or your expressions of your ideas more meaningful, more accurate, and better. So once again, this is Teacher Wowa, and wait for more lessons to come on our next videos. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, press the bell, like, and share. Bye everyone.